Welcome to Wrinkles Society of Hope. This is our new segment, Wrinkles Word of Wisdom. We have some of our sisters of Wrinkles to return to share motivational stories about an update of where they've come from, some of the wrinkles that they continue to press through, and the exciting new things that they are doing. So I hope that you sit back and listen as our sisters of Wrinkles return for our new segment, Wrinkles Word of Wisdom. And guess what? We continue to interview women for Wrinkles Society of Hope. So I would love to do an interview with you. But in the meantime, don't forget, hit subscribe and share this channel. Hit that notification bell so that you can hear about the exciting new interviews that are coming your way. And I hope that you all continue to follow Wrinkles Society of Hope. Thank you. Hello, Wrinkles family. We are back for our second Wrinkles Word of Wisdom. And the reason why this segment is called Wrinkles Word of Wisdom is because some of our Wrinkles women have blessed me to come back to the Wrinkles family to share with us. And so they're sharing some things they might have pressed through recently, but they're also sharing some amazing things that they have done since their last interview, are doing since their last interview. So this is going to be our second segment of Wrinkles Word of Wisdom. And today I have one of our Wrinkles women that have come back to share. So she's going to reintroduce herself back to the Wrinkles family.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about the conversation and the interview that we're going to have today. I'm excited because of such a time as this. It's a very much needed conversation. I am Roberta Robertson. Most know me as Ro, Minister Ro, or just Ro. I am the author of Blazers and Splinters, The Cost, the Courage, and the Calling of Leading Black and a Woman. And so this is my second time on Wrinkles. The first time, my first book was Every Woman is a Female, but not every female is a woman. So I am so excited about my journey and what God is doing and blessing me to help women heal and become whole.
Oh my gosh, so happy to have you back. And as I look back at our first interview, which was September 27th, 2022.
Oh, so, wow. It's been that long.
It's been that long. And it seems like, as we continue to follow each other, it doesn't seem so long ago, but it took a while for me to find your interview. And I said, wow, it's been that long since we interviewed. That's amazing.
That flies, doesn't it? Right?
It does. And it's funny, I was listening to how you were saying at that time you had brought out your first book. Like you said, Every Woman is a Female, and every female is not a woman, correct? Is that the title? I think
every woman is a female. Every woman is a female, but not every female is a woman.
There we go. And
a tongue twister.
Yes, it is. And you said that, you were struggling with even doing that book at the time because you were just like, I'm not an author. That's what you said.
Absolutely.
And now, look at you now. My goodness. Look, a whole platform of books and amazing things that we're going to talk about today. But as that journey since 2022 and to now 2026, can you share any recent life lessons or transformative moments that has led to a meaningful change in your life?
Yes, I retired. So I actually spent over 30 plus years in public sector, in the public transportation industry. And so in 2023, I decided, after being elevated into another high level position, which was the assistant vice president of bus operations, spent a very short stint there. And I said, God, is this my time to go on to the next thing or the next assignment? And so he released me. So I retired. And so I spent about probably a year and a half, actually went into a grieving of if you spend that much time in an industry, there's a grieving period. So I went through some grieving and some missing being around the environment. But there were a lot of wounds that came with elevating to those levels. And so I really was in a grieving, healing from all of the wounds that I've gone through. And then after about a year, a little over a year and 6 months or so, I said, you know what? I'm going to go give it a shot. I'll take a lower level position. And I did that with a city job here in Texas. And what I realized is that I did not have a conversation with God about seeking that job. And so I ended up back in an environment that bust those splinters wide open again. And so at that moment, I believe God was, really telling me, hey, you didn't seek me, but I'm going to use this opportunity for my good and my glory. And so at that moment, I was sitting in the office knowing that I was going to be exiting in a little over 2 months or so. And I used that time to just reflect on all of my journey in those 30 years. And I wrote most of the book while preparing to leave that job. And so quite interesting, didn't plan it that way, but that's how God planned it. I was sitting in my office with the door closed, and I had moments where I would just write and write and write. But I was also healing at the same time. And so what I recognized in writing this book is that I wasn't the only one experiencing these splinters. And so it is where I birthed Blazers and Splinters from a job that was causing even more wounds for me at that time.
Wow, I love it. And I love the book. As you see, I have my copy here. And let's talk a little bit about it. Why don't you share, what the book is and the substance? Because you read the title and it's like, what's going on? What is it about? And then you open it up and you're like, this is what this book is about. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about it.
So really what inspired me to write is through my own lived experience. Okay. Obviously I'm a Black woman. And the blazer, I have the blazer. I climbed the ladder. I have the titles. I have the offices with the views. I have the responsibility. But underneath all of that, there was a bunch of splinters, a bunch of pain, a bunch of hurt. And I realized after digging deeper into research that there were so many women, particularly Black women, who were leading at very high levels, who were bleeding underneath that blazer. So this book became my testimony, but it's also that mirror. And I want women to, through this book, feel seen, to feel validated, to be reminded that their pain has purpose, and that there's healing, and there can be legacy that can coexist all at the same time. And so this book is so powerful because the Blazers represent all of the achievements, all of the professionalism, and the seat that we earn when we were elevating into those roles. And those splinters represent those hidden costs. There's a lot of microaggressions, the isolation, the gaslighting, the unequal standards that we experience, and the emotional labors that we go through trying to elevate to get to the top, right? And so this book is very, very transparent, and it names everything that we are told to just be quiet about. And I remember coming up through the ranks way back when, it was like you just didn't talk about the things that were happening. You kind of held it in, and you just grit through it and fight through it, right? And so what it does is it says, yes, you earned the blazer, but let's talk about those splinters and how you pull them out, and without losing ourselves in the process.
Amazing. And I love the fact that you say our pain has purpose. Splinters are so painful when you get them, right? And when you put that in perspective in the book, I was just like, oh my goodness. Yeah, like we are having all this pain. Like you said, we stay silent through it, or if we're loud through it, then there's things that come against us while being loud through it. And just the step in the process and how you break it down, what made you, come up with Ambers, and what, birthed that?
As I was sitting there, it was a moment of really heartache for me and tears, because I do things in such excellence. And so as I was sitting there, and God allowed me to just look back over those years, and I'm like, oh man. And so everything that I experienced in Embers is how I came up with the Embers, because I was in and out of losing my fire, my flame, and so I thought back and I'm like, I was exposed to this environment where at one point in a 70-year history, I was the first Black female to ever be promoted in its entire 70-year history. So there was a lot of exposure that I experienced in those environments. I was experiencing those environments where you walk into an environment, you look professional, but you're really not there for gratification. You're really there as a marker to them. And that's what I experienced. Like, okay, you're here because you're breaking boundaries. You fit into the mold. Okay, so we haven't had a Black woman in 70 years. Okay, we have to get her in to this position to make sure that we're aligned with the governing laws, so to speak. And so, as you know, with everything that's going on, that has been eliminated almost with our new leadership in the federal level. But the mirroring I went through, just looking at myself, losing who I was, trying to fit in where I could get in. And then the breaking. I mean, you get to a point where, and it's so silently happening. It's like the breaking, it just piles on thing after thing, the microaggressions, the systemic biases that are taking place. And then before you know it, you're at a broken state. Your health is impacted, not just physically, but mentally, psychologically. And then we know that God we know that God calls all things to work together for those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. And so after there's a breaking, we know that God has a plan to elevate us. So I thought I went through a breaking stage. And then after every breaking, he had tended to elevate me to a whole nother level. And I was like, oh, wow, man, this is a pattern, right? So I went through exposure, I went through breaking, and then I went through elevation. And then he allowed me to reclaim in seasons where I got my time back. I got seasons of sleep back. I got, rest, and I got all of these things restored back to me. And then there were seasons where I was actually mentoring and pouring into other women who had endured all the things that I had gone through. And so I recognized that it was not something that just happens at one time and then it's done. You know what I mean? You don't go through this and it's like a one-time shot. It's a continuous process that you will go through. And I think when I came up with it, I was thinking about it from a spiritual perspective, because these are the things that God allows in our lives in order for him to get the glory, but in order for us to be stretched and to grow into who he's creating us to be and to be purposeful. Because if we think about it, he's the one that assigns us. He's the one that allows the exposure. He's the one that takes the time and says, hey, you know what? Look in the mirror, daughter. I want you to reflect. I created you to be exceptional. I created you to be outstanding and brilliant. And so he allows us to be broken. And then he's the one that can elevate us, and he's the one that can restore us, and we can reclaim things. And then he's the one that's poured so much into us that we get to pour it back into other people, and that we get to create legacy. And so I think I was thinking of that, reflecting on the seasons of my leadership, my growth, my healing. And the book just doesn't tell the story. It's like a language. It's a structure to what we've been enduring in leadership. And it helps readers to kind of recognize what they are and where they're actually going while they're in those leadership roles. Yeah.
Amazing.
That was a mouthful, but I'm so excited. I'm like, that was a mouthful.
So excited. So if there's one insight or piece of wisdom you hope that your readers, not just from this book, but the books that are coming, what would you want them to take away, even from this interview, what would you want them to take away from it? What would you want them to gain from it?
I think what's important to me is for the reader and for women to understand that they're not by themselves, and silence can no longer be the loudest voice in the room. And, I think my book, and there's a lot of leadership books out there, and I've been paying attention to social media. There's a lot of information out there, but what I want my reader to understand is that you have to be grounded in the principles of God. understanding what his purpose is for your life. And in the wounds that you experience, there is purpose behind the wounds because God wants to elevate you. He doesn't want you to stay where you are, right? And so when I'm writing my books, I'm writing as though I'm sitting in the room with my readers. And I'm encouraging them through the words that God would have me to speak to them. And so this book particularly aligns not just with Black women, although it focuses on my experience as a Black woman, but this book can reach women, it can reach men, allies, leaders, organizations, and it helps readers and women understand there really is a cost when we are operating in systems that are broken, when we are in systems that are toxic, that have systemic biases and issues, and to understand that this is not just a worldly attack on women. It is, I believe, a spiritual attack on women. And specifically for me, I believe it's Black women that are being spiritually attacked right now. If you heard last year, 2025, February, I think we got the report in sometime in March or April, over 300,000 Black women were forced out of the workforce for various reasons, but some of the reasons are stemmed around what my book talks about, right? The systemic issues that are happening, right? And so what I want the reader to understand is that you are resilient if you are driven by faith, and understand that truth telling is freedom, and that we can no longer continue to be silent. We have to talk about these things, and that to recognize that the things that we endure become part of legacy. So we have nieces, we have younger women coming behind us, we have daughters that we have to leave something for that's tangible so they can fight the next battle that's coming. And so I inspire women to heal, to be whole, to not self-doubt, and to know that they're not by themselves in any of the journeys that they're going through in life, whether it's professionally, personally, whether it's a divorce, whether it's financial breaking, whether it's emotional, psychological breaking. My books are aiming to really just heal women and to ensure that they become whole the way God intended.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And why do you think that is so hard for these conversations to happen?
Fear. I think fear is the dominance here. I think when I think about it, and I've had this conversation with a few of my girlfriends, and one of the things that I recognize, even for myself, is that historically, our ancestors, our mothers were taught a certain way to survive, right? And so some of that was kind of passed on, where you work, you go to college, you work hard, and you don't say much. You just make sure that you just stay focused on just going in and doing the best job that you can do. But it's way more than that, because when we take that mindset and we don't address some of the systemic issues that are happening to us in life, in the workforce, in other areas, we don't have an opportunity to heal. And so you think about it, if we're quiet about these things and we don't talk about these things, to me, it's all connected to fear. We're scared. We don't want to lose the job, right? We don't want to get written up. We don't want the label. We don't want to get in trouble. We don't want the title that comes with being a big mouth. We don't want to talk about these things because we're in fear of losing the status quo, right? There's a certain lifestyle that comes with making certain amount. I mean, I made over 6 figures for 12 years or more, right? And so when you think about women in those positions, yes, they're going through these systemic biases, right? But if I say something, my family's going to be impacted, right? I'm going to lose my benefits. I'm going to lose my salary. I'm not going to be able to have the same lifestyle. And so we don't have enough. We don't have enough reliance on God to not operate in that fear mode, knowing that He is the person that gave you the position. He's the person that allows you to be in certain circumstances. So He's always going to have your back. He's always going to restore you. He's always going to give you the things that you need, not necessarily the things that you want. But if we begin to speak, not out of, we have to speak when, let me just say this, we have to speak even when you're shaking and there's fear involved, when we know that it's right. It's kind of like see something, say something. And a lot of times I've been in experience in my position where you see things happening and people just close an eye and you know it's not right, right? And so the bottom line, I believe, the key thing is fear for me. I think fear is the reason that we don't speak up. I think that the other reason is attached to low self-esteem. When we don't have high self-esteem and we don't walk in the authority that God has given us, we're not going to speak up. We're just not, because we're shriveled into that, that mode of you might be the shy, unspoken person. You might have beaten up so much on a job or in a life, in a situation where you just don't even know how to speak up because you're not walking in that authority that God has given you. And in order to do that, you have to be delivered. And so that's a whole nother discussion right there, is being delivered from fear, being delivered out of the bondage of not walking in the authority that God has given you.
I love it. And it's almost like you said, the blazer. It's almost like we're putting on our armor when we go into these situations, but then the fear we don't stand on our armor that we put on. We hide behind it instead of using it as a shield. That knowing that who we are is a brand of armor, that we have these positions. We are somebody, want to be somebody. You walk in there with that statue of I am, and I'm supposed to be here. I belong. But we've been taught for so long, like you said, the splinters, the wounds kind of beat us up, right?
Yep, absolutely. I just remember going through those seasons of that. And even when I started writing the book, I still was going through that, and so I think it's always going to be a process because each environment is going to be different. And then in the book, I talk about great women leaders who are leaving legacies like Kamala Harris, like Jasmine Crockett, who's fighting for our rights daily. I talk about not Kamala Harris. Who else I talk about? Who else? Michelle Obama. Yes, Michelle Obama. I talk about her. There's many others that I mentioned in the book as legacies who have fought this fight. And not to say that they're superheroes, because I'm sure they've had their splinters and their breaking moments as well, but they stood in the fire. You know what I mean? So you're going to have seasons where the flame is going to dwindle down, but then you have to work at restarting that fire, igniting that fire. And that, to me, is what the book is about. Going through those embers, processing, having a tool there. So when you get to your lowest, when you get to the moment where the spark is just barely blazing, you can go in this book and you can read wherever you're at, whether you're in the mirroring, the breaking, whether you're in the elevation or the reclamation stage. You can go to those chapters. Okay, this is how I get my flame back. This is where I am in this journey. And so it's not one of those one-time read books. It's one of those, I'm going to hold this because I'm going to need it throughout my journey. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. And that's what I got from it, that it's a guide it's a reference book. I can go back and like you said, and I'm like, okay, I'm dealing with this and I need to empower myself. Let me go to this chapter because this is where I am right now. I love that. I love that guide that you have with the book to, refuel.
Yes.
Fuel,
yes.
Yes. Like you said, reunite, ignite your fire. And like, I got this because right here, this chapter is telling me, okay, let's go. Let's go.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I love it. And so let's,
absolutely.
How can others get this, get your book and continue to follow you? What are other things that you're doing as well?
So I do have a new book release coming out March 31st, and it's called Sneakers and Hips. crossing the boundaries. And so I have a website called robertsonsbooks.com. So if you want to purchase any of my books, you can actually go to my website. Again, that's robertsonbooks.com. Or you can purchase any of my books on Barnes and Nobles, or you can find it on Amazon. And I will tell you, Blazers and Splinters is only available Barnes and Nobles on paperback only. But the other sites like Amazon will be available through all 3 copies. That would be hardcover, that would be paperback, and also the Kindle version. And so I'm excited about continuing to write and be a scriber for the Lord, and to help women heal. I also have email if you'd like to reach out to me. If you have any questions about the book, about what I'm doing next, you can follow that on the website. But my email is roberobertsonbooks@gmail.com. Again, that's roberobertsonbooks@gmail.com. Yes. I do want to say one other thing. It's been postponed. I'm trying to work at it, but it is an extension of Blazers and Splinters. I've been working on doing a podcast called The Table of Fire, where women will meet and have fiery conversations about what's happening in the workplace, how they're dealing with it, and offering advice to other women. And we're sharing shared experiences that are happening. So I'm hoping to get that up and running soon, but look forward to that as well. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, as well as TikTok.
Awesome. And you see those links coming across. Definitely go get your book and wait. I can't wait for the next book that is coming out. I'm excited, and definitely we're going to make sure that we come back and circle back when you start your podcast and share with the Wrinkles family about the podcast so we can listen in and enjoy and actually get educated and get some word of wisdom, Wrinkles word of wisdom from those discussions and conversations that are happening. I'm so excited about it.
I'm excited. I'm excited about what God is doing. I think we are in need of more tools, more blueprints, more things that are applicable, especially during a season at such a time as this and things that are happening. We need to sink into our knowledge, our education, have wisdom. And I think those are the key things in our spiritual life and our prayer life are going to keep us grounded as we maneuver through these unprecedented times. And I'm hoping that my books will help many women, even when I'm not even here anymore. So I'm excited to see what God is doing.
Well, like you said back in 2022, that you have to be obedient to God. And I'm glad that you were. I'm glad.
I'm glad that I was as well. But use this as an example, whoever's listening, that when you operate in fear, you don't necessarily allow God room to stretch you and to take you out of your comfort zone. And so 2023, when I did the first interview on Wrinkles up until now, the growth that I've experienced in my writing, in my visibility, just know that God has a plan for you. And just know that we cannot walk in fear. We cannot walk in intimidation. We have to walk fully in our authority and who God created us to be in order to fully flourish and be purposeful and leave a legacy for others to come.
Oh my goodness. That's right on the money. You're speaking to me too. You're speaking to me and everybody else. And as you said, as you're walking through it and you can't walk in fear, let's say you got a t-shirt made today. What would that t-shirt say?
I actually have t-shirts. I actually have some t-shirts. I have some jackets as well. But if I had a t-shirt, no, the ones that I have is aligned with my book. But if I had to put a print on the book, on a t-shirt, it would say, keep the fire flaming. Keep the fire flaming. Don't allow the fire to go out. Walk in your power. Something like that.
I love it.
Something like that.
I always like to compare. So in 2022, you said your t-shirt said "Crush for Greatness."
Oh, okay. I remember that.
And the thing is like when I listened to that and I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, you are actually in so much greatness, and your past may have crushed you through it, but you are crushed and you are headed to so much greatness. I am so glad that you came in 2022 and that I'm seeing so much greatness evolve in 2026.
Yes, ma'am. And my job is to pour out that greatness on all those who want to receive it, and to ensure that I'm pulling the greatness out of others so that they can walk their journey as well, and that they can walk in the fire and keep the fire flaming.
Yes, let's keep it burning and let's continue on and not be in fear. Thank you so much for coming back to the Wrinkles family.
It was such an honor to be here. I look forward to the next time. As you can see, I was super, super excited. Probably talk way too much, but this was such an exciting time to share this journey and to spend time with you. I love what you're doing. I love the Wrinkles Society. Keep doing what you're doing. And I will pray that God continue to pour out his blessing upon this format and the Wrinkles Society podcast.
Thank you. You all get your books and continue to follow. And of course, the link is at wrinklessocietyofhope.org under her beautiful picture that I'm going to change to her new book. And so you make sure you click on that link so you can get that book directly either from her website, or you go to wrinklessocietyofhope.org and you can get it from there. Thank you so much for coming, sis.
Thank you. I'll see you next time.
Bye, Rico.
Bye.